You're watching Enterprise Nation TV with O2 Business.
Well, Paul, welcome to Enterprise Nation TV. Thank you very much for joining us. Very new in your Small Business Commissioner role, so thank you for taking the time. So first of all, obviously you're quite relevant to this job because you've got a background running a business. So first of all, just to set the scene, do you want to just tell us a bit about your experience running a business?
Well, it's very much in the blood, family background. I'm an East African Sikh, so my dad and my uncle had electrical business in Kenya, lost it, came to the UK, and I went to university. Parents were quite keen on me to probably get a job, but I'd always had this bit inside me because of family background about real interest in running my own business, and sort of started probably about a year to 18 months after graduating, went into my own business, which was mainly around construction and real estate development, primarily because I had contacts in that field from the family background, and something I'd always wanted to do. So yes, I've been involved with this man and boy, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So do you want to just go through a bit about that business and how it grew? Because I think it's quite a big-ish business now, isn't it?
It's sort of over the last 25 years, starting as an individual. Started off with industrial units, which were mainly based around the Black Country, so a lot of contact with my client base who had issues around supplier problems in terms of also payment as well. So a very close relationship with all sorts of other businesses as well. Over the years, through an element of just perseverance, good fortune as well, which always plays a part, it's managed to come together, and I always view it as my fourth child really, because I put so much emotional effort and blood, sweat and tears into it. I think my other three children probably say more into the business than I have into them, but yeah, it's very much part of the family, very much part of the family group as it was, and I've experienced a lot of lonely, worrisome nights, obviously looking after it and trying to bring it to fruition. But yeah, it's been a huge part of my life.
Mm. So, I mean, you've now got this role as the Small Business Commissioner. So why did you decide to apply for it, and why do you think you're the right person for the job?
When I saw it advertised, which I think was sort of beginning of the year, it was something I've always been passionate about. Small business. You know, a lot of people who've come from all sorts of backgrounds say everybody has a good news story about small businesses, but having experienced it, been at the sharp end, seen the personal aspect to it, it was something I wanted to get involved with, because not only was it close to my heart, I think it's one of the issues that isn't highlighted enough about the process that small businesses go through. So a big part of our remit will be around late payments, and I was just thinking about this the other day. If you try and get the message out about small business to the general public, sometimes it doesn't always hit home, although people are very, very pro small business. But what I'd say to anybody who's getting their pay at the end of the month, if you're getting paid and all of a sudden, because your employer decides they've paid you on time, promptly, that they discount your wages by 25%, but you've still got your mortgage to pay, food to put on the table and still do the shopping, would the general public within Britain be happy with that? And of course they wouldn't. This is one of the things that has been going on for far too long. Lots of initiatives, lots of discussion about this, and I wanted to come to the role because I've seen both ends, having been involved in a business and political world, about how sometimes there is a gap there. And so I thought I'd put myself forward because I think as an individual, because the experiences I've had, I can bridge that gap and make sure that small businesses and business in general, the agenda they have is really at the forefront of government thinking and generally within the public profile in terms of issues of the day.
I mean, you've touched on it a bit there, but so you say you feel you've got the relevant experience, but have you personally experienced then in your business career late payment issues, and how do you think those experiences are you going to apply it to understanding small businesses as the Commissioner?
Well, the first bit of advice I ever got when I wanted to go into business was from one of my uncles who said, well, manage your money first and foremost. And so I was very lucky to have a mentor indirectly who helped me through that. So I did experience it, but much more so was through my tenant base as well. So because if they hadn't got paid, they couldn't pay me. So indirectly, I got involved with a lot of these issues in terms of actually chasing payment and actually passing on best practice as well as I could. Because often businesses are so busy in terms of time management and the pressures of all sorts of other things that it's an aspect of business life which gets neglected, but of course it's incredibly important. And just after I was put into post, about a week after, I was approached by an old contact of mine who came to meet me and said, look, in his own business, it had had to go by the wayside because of this whole issue of late payments. Now, the individual is quite a shy individual, not always sort of prone to be, sort of coming forward, but it just goes to show that as an issue, sometimes because of personalities of the business involved, that chasing late payments isn't always a priority, but it causes 50,000 business deaths a year, huge part of the economy. And I think in terms of what we can control, in terms of the current business environment with all its uncertainty, this is something where we can really hold up good practice, real exemplars about how we're showing that prompt payments and invoices being paid on time can make a huge difference to the business environment and to small businesses, of course, in particular.
Why do you think, though, it's become such a big problem? Because if the problem wasn't so big, this job you've got wouldn't be needed.
Correct.
And there's lots of research that says there's a culture of late payment in the UK. So why do you think it has got so bad?
I think that culture of late payment has been around for far too long, and maybe I'd answer it as I did with the previous question, that we've sort of it's not had the focus and the spotlight on it that it should do. And again, people, I think, even when it is highlighted, and it's highlighted quite prominently just before the last general election, Jeremy Corbyn went on a platform and highlighted, so this is a huge issue, and it got a great deal of heat and light for 24 hours, but that wasn't really sustained. And I think you're right, there is a culture of it which has crept, but for us to challenge that culture, it's about keeping the spotlight on this as an issue. As I say, this is a huge issue, but I'm not sure for the general public they see it as a massive issue as it is for small businesses. So I see very much my job and my role is to keep that pressure point on and make sure the spotlight is on there so that I can actually be a champion, if you want to, for small businesses. Because there's lots of great bodies doing all sorts of work, but getting them coalesced around a single message or an office like the Small Business Commission can be one way of taking it forward. Big businesses can look after themselves. They're very good at getting in front of government. They've got no issues. But I think for small businesses in particular, what I want to see the role doing is very much being a champion for the issues and the concerns that small businesses have got. And we can be a point around which businesses can coalesce.
So what plans are there in place then to communicate that you now exist in this role? Because obviously it's brand new, and obviously journalists like me know about it, have been following it for ages, but you're sort of average small business on the street. How are you going to make sure that they know you exist and what you can do to help them?
Well, part of the process is doing this today and just getting the message out there. And initially that's going to be very much in terms of my remit, just spreading the word, spreading the message. We're going to be fully operational by the end of the year or the beginning of 2018. And we can have a staff here in terms of caseworkers taking up specific issues around late payment. So very much the sort of initiative we're doing today is spreading the message. Either it's going to be through social media or doing stuff like this or in the sort of national press. I understand there may be an element of people think, well, is this just going to be the normal sort of usual process? Is this lip service by government? We're an independent body. We are there to push the agenda of small business. And my job, my role is going to make sure we bang the drum for small business. So over the next few months, my job, my remit is very simple. Go out and speak to as many small businesses as possible, but also spread the word that we have this office set up, which is going to push the agenda and be a champion for small business.
Do you want to just clarify, because I think maybe some small businesses think, maybe because of your title, that you're everything. So you can get them funding, you can get them social media help. So it is just, the main focus is late payment, isn't it?
The initial remit is going to be about late payment. And that's very specific in terms of the job description, why I applied for it. I think long term, I would want to sort of take the role forward if we can. But that's very much hand in hand with small business about what are their real wants, their agenda and their real concerns. But initially, you're quite right. The agenda is going to be specifically around late payment and see how culturally we can tackle that issue. That's going to be the initial remit. But beyond that, I am anxious to see it grow and for us to be a voice for small business.
Brilliant. So say we were here again in 5 years, what do you hope you would have achieved in that time?
Being, as you said, have done everything we possibly can for small businesses, doing their social media, doing all kinds of stuff for small businesses. But look, I think specifically to, if we can change the culture, to push that. If we feel that big businesses are reluctant, resistant, or playing for time in terms of that perspective, I'm quite happy to go forward to government and say, look, we're going to need extra tools to do this job. I'm not going to tell you now what that will be, but I'm certainly not going to be shy in coming forwards on this. This is something I want to succeed. I'm very, very passionate about this. And also through the data and through our conversations with small businesses, just to make sure that we can do everything we can so that small business can say that the UK is the best place to start and run a business. This should be an exemplar. We have a lot of uncertainty at the moment. I don't think anybody can deny that. But all we can do is control what we can control. And if making the UK the best business environment for small businesses, to grow into medium and large businesses, to maintain that environment, to create that environment, would be something that I would sort of put as a tick box for success for our commission. Those are lofty ambitions. Obviously the initial one is around late payment, but I'd like to see us grow into that role if we can.
Right, we'll catch up in 5 years. So I put a call out to, because Enterprise Nation is a membership network, and I put a call out to our members, and we had a couple of key questions that I picked out that I thought would be good for you to answer. So Alan Jones has asked, do you feel that factoring and supporting insurance services are promoting enough to small businesses to enhance cash flow and protect them from bad debt?
Well, I would almost think that we can almost negate that there's almost not the need to do that. If we can push prompt payment and payment within a very sort of measurable timescale, which is much shorter than it is now. I'm not going to be prescriptive on that because, but to push that agenda, perhaps we can negate almost the issue for that small businesses can feel that they don't have to go out on a limb in terms of, sort of on credit terms or whatever. I'm meeting Philip King, who's from the Chartered Institute of Credit Management, and other bodies about how we can talk about their experiences as well. So the short answer is, obviously those services exist. I'm sure businesses are aware of them, but I want to make an environment where they're not necessary, almost, to take us to that. That's the objective I've got for us as a Small Business Commission office.
Brilliant. And another question came in from Paul Durant, who said, could the government offer large businesses more of an incentive to sign up to the prompt payment code? And this is quite interesting, also offer a small business tier for the scheme, because it isn't just large companies that withhold payments. So I guess it is small to small as well as... It
is. And, I think we've got to be careful, if I'm really candid with you, about it just being small against big. We want all businesses to succeed. And in an ethical environment, if I could be so bold as to say that, I think if we're going to be really true to that ambition of creating the best business environment globally, and it should be in the UK, that's going to encompass all businesses. But yeah, I think there's some merit in that. As I highlighted in my previous response, I'm meeting Philip King, who I think administers the prompt payment code as well. And it's certainly something I want to explore. But yes, I think an environment where all businesses feel that they're getting a fair crack of the whip. What I mean by that is, okay, you may not as a small business be able to compete in terms of the glitzy IT, the wonderful PR that a big business has. But essentially, if you're personable and you've got that human connection, I'm sure that can thrive and prosper as much as any business, regardless of size, in the 21st century. And come back to that fundamental point. This should be the ideal environment and exemplar for running businesses globally.
Mm. And just finally, to conclude, what would your general advice be then to small business owners to tackle late payment?
Be persistent. Look, it's easy to say when you're on this side of the camera, but I've been on the other side as well. It can be a very daunting, lonely experience, running your own business. And of course, your main supplier, it can be sort of, you don't want to put your head above the parapet and sometimes destroy the relationship, but I think be firm, be quite clear in what you want to do. And that, as I illustrate the point, 90% of the population get paid through their wages. If their employer came to them and started discounting their wage, they'd have a fairly sort of robust conversation. I understand that's not for everybody, but certainly for us as a commission, we want to help individuals in that. If you feel that you need any guidance, or we can signpost you, we'll have a website, but we're here to help and take up your calls, and we're not going to go away. The government set this body up, we're here to help, and I'm certainly not going to be shy in coming forwards and being a pain in the backside for certain government institutions or for certain businesses who are sort of slipping below the exemplar that we would expect.
Great. Paul, thank you very much.
Pleasure.